how do you deal with the complications of breakups in non-monogamous relationships? Yeah, so hard to know like what exact complications folks are talking about. Breakups in non-monogamy are interesting because I think that when you try to talk to monogamous folks when you're going through a polyamory breakup, they're like, well, but you still have partners. Why does it matter? Because, everybody's the same. It's interchangeable. Like, partner, who cares? It's the same. So, not real. That's not true. So I think a lot of times that if you have a lot of friends who are monogamous, you may have a harder time finding folks who can understand like why it is challenging for you or what's going on for you, because to them, if you have a relationship, you're set. Whereas for us, the relationships that I have with other people don't take away from the heartbreak that I'm feeling about one relationship ending. I recently started dating someone new and I was super, super, super excited about them and things were really great. And then some stuff changed in their life and they needed to take a big step back for a while. And so I don't know if we're going to date anymore. And it's not a breakup, but it is a breakup of sorts. And I still have a partner, but it still sucks. Like it's hard, and it's hard to know like how much do I process this breakup with my other partners, because your other partners don't necessarily want your whole relationship to be about the breakup you have with somebody else, but they do want to know what's going on with you. Most likely, if they care about you, they probably care about that. So, like, how much can I process with them? Which friends can I actually talk to who are able to like hold space for me about this breakup? So I think that it is challenging in some ways to figure out where your support is going to come from and who can be good support for you. And I think a lot of us who are non-monogamous tend to be pretty good at building and maintaining fairly robust social support networks so that we don't have to like put all of our support needs onto one person. I think too that when a breakup happens in non-monogamy, especially if you're in like a non-monogamous community or like a kink community, these are small worlds. And so going on the warpath after a breakup and like trashing somebody tends to be something that causes a lot more trouble than if you do it in like a regular, like if you're just like a regular mainstream person and you break up with Brad, probably none of your friends knew Brad before you started dating, and like you might occasionally run into him at a bar if it's a small enough town, but like you may never see Brad again. So if you're in the polyamory community though, even in relatively big cities, it's a small ass town. Kink community, it's a small ass town. And so to some extent it behooves you to figure out how to talk about the realities of your experience and process what happened for you without trashing that person to everybody. And for me, somebody just like put in a clarifying question of like, how do you make the transition from partners to ex to friends with your ex? I'm friends with a lot of my exes. Usually what I do is I like to take some time where we just don't talk or interact at all. And then after that, we like get back together and figure out what friendship looks like for us. And the reason that I do that is that for me at least, if I try to go immediately from we are breaking up to we're being friends, it is like too hard of a transition for me. Like I need some time and space to like clear out my old expectations and my old thoughts about who we are and like my own schema about how we used to be so that I can be present to where we are now and like figure out what that relationship is now. And so for me, usually it's at least 4 weeks, sometimes a couple months of just like, let's just not chat. Let's like take some complete space from each other. And then we can figure out what becoming friends looks like. And during that time, what I try to do is like give myself a space to like have a little bit of a like pity party temper tantrum for a little bit. Cause like, look, after a breakup, we all need to be able to have that moment where we like, even if we don't 100% believe it, we get to like have some person that we talk to and talk about what a terrible, evil person this ex is, right? So that we can like get through that space and then come back to a balanced space of like, I still care about this person. We're still important to each other. Like, I don't want to never see this person again. I just need to figure out, like, how to deal with the hurt or the anger or the whatever it is that's coming up for me around this change. And I think that that's one of the keys here, is recognizing that a lot of these stories that come up for you as you are in the middle of a breakup are driven by the hurt and the sadness and the fear and all of those other parts that come up for us when someone that we're attached to leaves our lives. Those stories may have seeds of truth in them. They don't tend to be the whole truth. And so letting yourself have that space to feel those stories, to be in them, to like share them with somebody else, while knowing that they are stories and they are not the whole truth, can make it much easier for you to then find your way back to this balanced understanding of what happened, find your way back to a place where you're exes, but you don't have to hate each other forever. Straight cis monogamous culture is one of the only places where you get to hate your exes forever. This is not to talk about abuse, this is like standard exes. Because like in straight cis monogamous culture, there's billions and billions of y'all out there, so like you're gonna be fine. If you're a queer person, there's not as many of us, so like you're just not ever gonna be able to completely get away from your ex forever. So at some point you have to figure out how to be a human being around them. And so figuring out how to process your feelings, figuring out what you want or need in terms of like, do I even want to be friends with this person? Do I want to just like be able to be in the same space, but we don't need to be able to like chat and be friendly? Do I want to be able to like have a conversation with them? Do we still want to be besties after this? We just need some space so that we're not expecting that to be a romantic thing anymore. And like giving yourself time and space to figure out what that is without any like expectation or need for it to look a certain way is super helpful. And I think reminding all of your partners, if you're processing the breakup with them, that like you're so happy that they're willing to hear it, and if at any point it's too much, they can let you know and you can find other supports. Like giving everybody the ability to opt out if they just don't have it in them to support you right at that moment. Yeah, breakups suck. Like breakups suck. They can suck more, they can suck less. They're gonna suck, right? Anytime that something comes to a close, we as humans tend to not love endings. And that's why a lot of us tend to avoid them for as long as possible. And so we like let them just explode rather than like ending them at a point where like we know it's probably not going to work, but it's like not bad enough yet to break up. So we're just going to wait until we hate each other. I think that a thing here as well is that if you make the decision to like consciously close your relationships earlier, when like you know it's not going to work, but you don't hate each other yet, it's much easier to have good breakups. I think a lot of us operate on this very like mainstream idea of you can't end a relationship unless it's horrible. Like unless they have like really damaged you or are abusing you or they're the worst person ever, then like there's no reason to walk away. When like if it's just not working for you, you can walk away. It doesn't have to be bad. It can just be not right. And like if you've talked about it and you've tried to work through it and it's still just not right, it's okay. It's okay to just say, all right, well, it seems like we're not a good fit, and like let it go. Ending a relationship is not the end of the world. And when you end it at that point where you're just like, actually, this just isn't working, you're able to have a much better breakup and stay friends with people much more easily than if you like hold on to the bitter end where all that is left is anger and resentment and rage. So break up earlier is the way to have good breakups. Oh, man, that sounds like terrible advice, but I promise it's not. I promise. It's good.